Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. We've got two beers here in front of us, and they both have interesting stories, right?
They do have some stories.
Yeah. This one is from Mike. This is actually the product of the 20-year anniversary brew, where we bought an extract kit of an Irish Red.
Yep, I think it was called Celtic Red, but yes,
Celtic Red, sorry. And it was an extract kit, and we brewed it on the stovetop. You may have seen that video from earlier in our brewing career here in 2019. And then I brewed this Irish Red following Jamil's recipe, and I used the yeast cake from that awesome dry Irish stout that I brewed back in February. So this is the product of that particular, I guess, technique. I love using the yeast and just chilling your wort, transferring that finished beer into another container, some kind of secondary storage container, and then placing my cooled wort right on top of that yeast cake and watching the fermentation take off pretty quickly. So this is yours. You want to give it the old shot in the secondary camera? Give it that looky of the color.
It's more like a, so this red ale is more of like a strong copper. Just pushing a little bit darker than straight up copper, right?
Yep.
So in comparison to this one, which is, you know, more on the darker side of that red ale black thing.
Side,
It's, when you hold it to the light though, it looks like a red ale. Less, it's not as brown ale-ish looking when you really hold it up.
Yes.
So anyway.
And I have a note on that. Jamil's recipe calls for 5 ounces of roasted barley.
5 ounces.
5 ounces. And I think I've made a mental note. Kids, make sure you write down your notes, because the next time you go back to that recipe and you do it the exact same way, you think to yourself, you know what, I should have used less roasted barley. I think 5 ounces makes it a little too dark. I think, you know, with a smidgen. It's also calling for like 2 different types of caramel malts, 6 ounces of each.
Yep.
I think it's somewhere like a 40 love and then a 120 love.
Yeah, he's known for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that also could probably, you know, it could probably like pick one, maybe the lighter color of the two.
Yep.
And then, you know, use.
Yeah, I don't know if you need both.
Yeah, I think that might be what. But anyway, you know, I like the way it came out. It's definitely fermented clean. You know, it's one of those things where it takes off right away, where it's like within, you know, 8 to 12 hours, you've got some pretty visible fermentation activity going on in the carboy.
So aside from the color, the aroma on both of them is decidedly different. I think on my version there's a
real fruity note.
There's a fruity ester note that's pretty strong there.
Yeah. And
on this one, and we use the same yeast, right? Yeah, so I use the Irish ale yeast for this too, right?
Yes.
And but yours has got a
Y yeast 1084,
stronger toasted malt note to it, right? There's a little bit of almost roasty.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm almost like stronger than I think I would expect it for a red ale.
Yeah.
Like it's toast bordering on roasted malt.
So the one other note
it's not bad. It's just that's what I
toasty.
get.
So I saw this. Saw this malt. It was Irish Stout malt, and I wanted to try it, so I used 10 pounds of that in this. So that might be
that's
also
the base malt.
That was the base malt.
And that stuff is probably what, like 3 Lovibond? It's sort of like a Maris Otter color-wise. It's a pale ale malt.
Yes.
Versus pale malt, which is not that, which is confusing as all get out.
But that's why
that's what they do.
Yes.
Cool. So so this one, which is an extract beer, all this was extract and a few ounces of crushed up roasted barley, steeped.
Right, that's right.
Steeped
I remember
in a bag, and that was right with a rolling pin. Maybe it would have been darker if we had used a mill, but we wanted to emulate
what we did back
that first
20
batch,
years ago.
Back before they invented mills. So that's, but there's no crystal malt. Now the thing is, the base malt, which is just golden base malt.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a little crystal malt in those those extracts.
Yes.
But I have no idea of knowing.
Yep. We don't know the formulation. That's for sure.
but it's decidedly fruitier. And on mine, I get a little bit of there's a little bit of like alcohol on the nose, a little bit. I mean, the percent alcohol in this is not high, it's like 5%.
How was your fermentation with this?
Slow start, but once it got going, it was fine. I had to throw the heat on it. It was a little bit cool down here, and it fermented probably at like, eventually got it to like 72 or so, which might be where all that ester is coming from.
Potentially, yeah.
There's a little bit of alcohol in that ester, but
yeah,
it's not bad. But this, I like this. This is a cleaner ferment. It's a significantly more malty.
Yeah, I'm tasting the roast on that one as compared to the extract brew.
And then I think the caramel malt sort of smooth it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But in neither one of these do I really get what I would consider a hop presence.
No.
And it's just there in the background balancing the maltiness of it, right?
I'm trying to remember what I did. I mean, it was a one-time addition for the hops.
Yeah, mine too, right? Just a boil addition, right?
Like an ounce and a half at 60 minutes ago. And that was it. So
what do we think about these two red ales then, as far as red ales go? And does it live up to what you expect a red ale to be?
So I think that with this, and it's actually funny, like last night I got my issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Yes, I saw it this morning.
Yeah, and so they actually had a hardest. I think the article was about
the feature article.
Yeah, the feature article was like difficult styles to brew, and Irish Red was one of those, and I think it comes down to color.
And that's what it said, right?
Yeah,
nailing the color is the hardest part.
Is the hardest part, and I think that's why I'm a little disappointed by that, because it is darker than I wanted it to be. Yeah. And again, I took a mental note. I should write it down and say try to use less roasted barley, because there really should just be a smidge. And actually, I think one of the tips in that article was just to, maybe I read some, I think it's in that article, now it's all smushing together because I read so many things to like try to figure it out. But I think it's like one of those things where take your strike water and then just do a few like steeps of the roasted barley just to get the color that you want.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's impossible to control that. It's impossible to be consistent. And I think Gordon Strong oversaw that article.
Okay.
Each one was, I think,
written by somebody else.
But anyway, it's interesting that it's just impossible to control.
Yeah.
Even just one time to get it right. I don't know.
So I think maybe to be able to replicate it, I will just change the grain bill and then just use a little less roasted barley for the next brew.
Yeah. I think that the truth for this lies somewhere in between these two beers.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that
I mean, I don't mind the fruity ester quality of the yeast in mine. Yeah. But then the color somewhere, a blend in between the two probably work out. And then just to be just enough, that roast character become more of a toast character. That's what I expect out of a red ale, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of caramel malt in the background, a little bit of biscuit.
Yeah.
Because then the next step beyond that is drifting into brown ale territory in terms of the flavor profiles, right? A little bit more caramel, a definitive toast character.
Yeah. So even taking that, certainly the roast taste will go down.
To me, a red ale should be, it's a red version of pale ale with just a little more character.
Yep.
Right?
That's it.
Yep.
So almost there, but I'm just happy that the fermentation was strong. Definitely made for a very smooth character, very dry character, and all of that. I think with a better, grain bill, it'll be close to what I want.
So there we go. 2 red ales, all grain, extract.
Enjoyable style for sure, and one
something to be perfected. If you want, this is a place to test your chops. If you want to test your ability to do recipe formulation, this is a good style to do.
Yeah. You just better be ready to drink a lot of Irish Red
a lot of it, because it's hard to do it. It's hard to get it right.
That's true.
So.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. We always try to explore different styles and give some tips along the way to brew excellent beer. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. We try to do this every week. Subscribe to our channel. For John and Mike, brew-stews.com, Irish Red Ale on.
Cheers.